So, listening to them, and especially I think Nena was talking about how she used to work late, and you have a caregiver, maybe someone taking care of the child. How important is it to have like people who are taking care of this child, and even the parents themselves, like to have that knowledge of just knowing that, okay, so if this child does not do this or that, or they behave in a certain way, you need to inform your employer.
So usually, as a parent, your child sees you as a safe space. Yeah, they see you as you're the protector. Yeah, they do not know. You know, they may have the nanny around and all that and spend a lot of time, and they may actually have a real connection with them. But you, as a parent, there's usually a special bond, right? So if a child is, maybe you notice that the child is becoming avoidant, they don't want you to touch them, you know, they don't want you, or even you hold them and it's like it's nothing, they don't care, that is usually the first telltale. You need to be able to understand that if your child is becoming avoidant, they're missing something. And this may not play out when they are young. You may come to realize the effects much, much later, when the child maybe distances themselves from you. We have seen people in adulthood leave their parents and go. They literally vanished. They don't even pick calls and all that. So those are some of the things you also need to be looking at. Another thing, if the child is constantly crying, you need to be able to understand, why is the child constantly crying. If maybe you leave them with a nanny and this child does not, you know, every time you come home they're running to you and don't want to see the nanny. We want to find out, is this child maybe being abused? Is something happening in this house that I'm not aware of? When this child, you know, they feel safe with me, but why is it that when I'm home they don't want to relate with my nanny? Why is it that every time I just come home they're running from, you know, the person that is taking care of them? Another thing, maybe in a toddler age, you'd want to request your children to draw the family. This is one of the how to identify if your child is actually okay with the people in your setup. You ask them to draw. You know, they won't draw something very perfect, but they will draw the people, and you'll ask them, who is this, who is this, who is this? If they're able to identify all the people in your family, then you know that this child is actually learning, or rather they have been able to socially connect with each one of you.
I think that aspect, yeah. That they'll be able to socially connect.
Mm-hmm.
At the clinics, how important are these clinics? What are some of the questions that parents should be asking? Because I think we just go, leo ni chanjo ya nini, leo ni chanjo ya rotavirus.
So, I mean, it's okay, or rather important, that you ask, maybe if you've noticed something that is a little off, something that does not sit well with you. If maybe, I know there's usually the fear and anxiety that you don't want it to be broken to you, that maybe your child has a developmental disability.
Delay, yeah.
You know, you don't, it's hard to take that information. And maybe that's why a lot of people, or rather patient, or rather, what do we call them, parents, don't want to ask, because you're scared. You're scared of the reality. Yeah. But the truth is, the earlier you learn, the better the treatment you'll get. So if you realize that your child is always repeating patterns, you give them toys, they don't play with the toys, they're just staring at the toys. Or rather, you give them toys and they're breaking the toys, they want to understand, what is this thing? You notice very, you know, things that maybe are a bit off. It's okay to just go and ask your pediatrician.
Ask the questions.
Yes,
ask the questions.
Yeah.
And I want them now to ask you questions, like if they have any questions. Oh, and also another thing, they should read the clinic book.
Yes, they should.
Back to you. Your clinic is very important.
My question is, what do you think about screen time and developmental delays? Do they really affect children?
Yes, they do, a lot. And I mean, we are living in a social media world, a world where every person is busy, let's be honest. So most of the times we give our children phones, or rather, you know, screens, gadgets, for them to just be distracted by our absence. But really, you know, the child, okay, there are usually programs that are actually educative. I've seen a program, I think it's called Akili Kids, you know, those things where the children are asked to color, the children are asked to draw trees and others, you know. But again, how much time are you giving the child with the screen? Remember, it's also affecting their vision. Remember, this child is growing. They're literally, their brain is forming. So what is it that they're learning? And everything that they're learning cannot be taught on a screen. They will not learn how to speak from the screen. Maybe they will be speaking, you know, they will learn a few words, but they won't completely learn from the screen. You get? So it's important that you're able to regulate so that this child also has time to play. Because if you do not allow your child to play, trust me, they will definitely develop a developmental condition over the board, because they are not getting the space to be a child. They need to be a child. They need to actually connect with their brain. They need to connect with their environment. And this is where the nurture and nature, you know, there's a controversy that we say, is it usually nurture that causes a child to maybe develop a condition, or is it the nature that means the biological and rather, you know, issues, or rather things, the genes, the genetic factors? Is it usually the genetic factors? Well, some of it is genetics, but some of it is because of the environment that the child is in. That means that if they are exposed to so much screen time other than, you know, play time, they're not able to connect. Let's be honest, even us, if you're always on your phone, it's hard to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're giving your child the phone all the time, or rather a gadget, it's hard for them to even learn how to relate with you as a parent.
It's true.
Yeah.